The first talk today is from Christina Yakomin. She is a senior technical lead for site reliability engineering at Vanguard, who created the world's first index fund in 1975. They currently have over $8 trillion of assets under management and is now the world's largest provider of mutual funds and the second largest provider of electronic trading funds. Technology has always been critical to their business, evidenced by the fact they have over 7,000 developers. So last year, Christina gave a talk at this conference, which I thought was one of the best talks on next generation infrastructure and operations that I'd ever seen, because it describes so wonderfully how one modernizes a technology landscape and the technical practices around them that has been built up for over 50 years. I asked if she could present a talk to all of us here at DevOps Enterprise and bring someone who could tell us specifically how they benefited from what she and her team created. So I am so delighted that Christina will be presenting with Robbie Daitzman, IT Delivery Manager who supports Vanguard's financial advising technologies. And he will be sharing some of their goals and how modern infrastructure practices help them achieve it in ways that Vanguard customers appreciate. Here's Christina and Robbie.
Thanks, Gene. In this talk, we'll tell you the story of Vanguard's iterative SRE transformation and our journey as we've modernized all of our technology platforms over the past few years. To set some context, if you're not familiar with Vanguard, we are a global asset management company with over $8 trillion in global assets under management. And working behind the scenes to power all of that is over 17,000 crew members, both domestically and around the globe. And for a company like Vanguard, technology is critical, not just because of the current modern landscape of the industry, but also because Vanguard is unique in its structure. We don't have brick and mortar locations where our clients can come in and talk to their financial advisor face to face. We never have. All of our interfacing with our clients happens either over the phone or on the web. Anyone familiar with a call center knows that that really incentivizes us to have a great web experience for our clients. It makes technology one of the top priorities for the firm. And for some background on who we are, as Gene mentioned, my name is Christina Yakomin, and in my current role, I am the senior technical lead on our site reliability engineering coaching team. Over the past few years, I've picked up a few AWS certifications, including most recently the AWS Solutions Architect Professional certification. And in my career so far, I've had experience with full stack application development as well as cloud infrastructure and automation. In my most recent prior role, I was a member of our chaos engineering team. So if you've heard me speak in the past, it may have been on that topic. And I think of myself as a bit of a chaos engineering enthusiast still today in my current role. And outside of work in my free time, I am a member at the Philadelphia Zoo, and I love to spend some time there on a nice day on a weekend.
And I'm Robbie Daitzman. I'm currently an IT delivery manager supporting one of our lines of business at Vanguard. My background is fairly similar to Christina's, and we actually crossed paths as we were both on the chaos engineering team together, helping to stand that up at Vanguard going back a couple of years ago. Something that has always intrigued me is the people side of the engineering organization, how things such as organizational dynamics come into play there, which is actually something that helped lead me into leadership. And like many of us, we all had to find different hobbies throughout our quarantine period over the past 18 months. And so something I picked up was a real interest in wine, and including picking up a certification, both on service and tasting.
All right, so now let's talk about where Vanguard started this journey. And to do that, we're going to rewind about 5 to 7 years ago and paint this picture. I give a range because we're still on this journey today. And I want to preface all of this with that. I'm not here to tell you today that we solved every single one of these problems throughout the entire organization, but hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate all of the great progress that we have made. So to start, about 5 to 7 years ago, all of our technology was hosted in a private data center. We had pretty much exclusively monolithic applications and no presence in the public cloud. All of our deployments to production were extremely controlled. There were about quarterly releases, and the development teams were definitely not the ones handling the deployments. In terms of observability, there wasn't any. There was alert-only visibility, meaning really no dashboards that were particularly meaningful, and no positive affirmation that our systems were functioning the way that we want them to be. All we really had was whether or not an alert had fired recently, and we depended on those alerts to tell us whether or not our systems were functioning. Take things one step further, those alerts were centrally owned. Development teams weren't setting them up on their own. They were submitting requests to another team that managed the alert portfolio, who were configuring all of those, hopefully correctly, and another ticket would need to be submitted to update that alert in any way. Finally, as you might expect, development and operations were completely siloed. We had teams of programmers and teams of operators, and they only interacted when something went wrong. All of that production support was centralized too. So the next step from here is talk a little bit about the cloud migration that enabled our SRE transformation from that data center that we had all the way to majority public cloud. The first step was breaking down that monolith. It is incredibly difficult to take a large, unwieldy, monolithic application and lift and shift it into the cloud directly. And if I had figured out how to do that, I probably wouldn't be giving this talk right now. Instead, we carved out microservices from our monolith slowly but surely and started running them initially on a private cloud platform as a service that we hosted internally. As part of this move, we were able to improve the deployment frequency for those portions that were carved out. It really changed the game for those development teams who were used to waiting for a quarterly release cycle. Now, there were